Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Cloud Show. Today, we're going to talk about such an important topic. It's a topic very near and dear to my heart as well. I support all kinds of learning initiatives. I participate in global learning initiatives to further your skills and knowledge as a professional. But we're going to take this community effort thinking that I mentioned and take it into the companies, into the business. What place does training and education have in your business, and why is it so overlooked, and how do you actually make that work? We're going to talk to someone who has been giving this a lot of thought. The star of the show tonight is Henry.
Hello, nice to be here.
Hello, Henry. Nice to see you. You're on mute now. He's coming back. There we go.
Hey, Magnus. Nice to be here.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good to have you, sir. It's good to have you. So we have to, of course, I mean, this is such a fascinating topic. Oh, my God. We only have 20 minutes, but we do want to know first, who are you, sir, and why do you have anything to say on this topic?
So my name is Henry. I'm a developer and architect from the Netherlands. And I deliberately say developer and architect because I do try to be hands-on on code every single day because I believe that the best architectures are built. So I create software for the cloud running on Azure. I focus only on .NET and Azure. And one of the things that I've been doing for a while now is creating training courses for Pluralsight on these two topics. Which got me thinking about training, right? With the topic of today.
Of course.
And some of the things that I encounter around this topic in the industry, doing both in company trainings and also Pluralsight trainings.
Yeah. All right, that's good. And you are professionally, sorry, where do you work? Did you say?
Oh, I'm an independent, so I'm a freelancer. I'm not associated with any company. I work exclusively with Microsoft technology, but I don't work for Microsoft, and I'm enthusiastic about some of the technology, but it's not like I sell that stuff.
All right, right. Now that's similar to myself as well, so I know exactly what you mean. All right, brilliant. So you have been engaging in creating training materials. Of course, it'd be nice if people bought your courses on Pluralsight. Yeah, that'd be cool. But there is a larger stake here, right? There is this challenge of furthering your education as a professional technologist, and also for a company to support or enhance or empower this. Right? This can be a big challenge. There are some problems with this all over the industry to enable this.
Absolutely. I think there are a number of things going on. So if I start with myself, I've had a great education, but I still remember the first day I walked into the office and people said to me, "Oh, we're going to start with the daily stand-up." And I was like, "What's the daily stand-up?" I will remember that for the remainder of my life. The first thing said to me in my very first job, I had no idea what they were talking about. And the first couple of weeks, months in that company, everything I encountered, I found out I didn't learn anything about it in university. So for some reason, I had a very good education, but on the other hand, I didn't know anything about what was happening in real companies doing real work. And I see that with so many engineers entering the workforce. They have a degree, they had excellent marks, and then they walk into a company and it's like, what's the strategy pattern? Or they're like, what's Entity Framework Core? And companies have to deal with this. How do we train people up that have a good education to be able to practically apply that in their job?
Yep.
And I don't know if we think enough about that as companies.
No, I don't think we do. I definitely don't think we do. But I mean, it's also about being hungry for it. And I don't know, that I've seen in some cases, some engineers or people are not necessarily there to do any training. Like you said, they go heads down only.
So, yeah, I think as a company, you have to think about how do we, when people come in, how do we train them? And I don't think companies do that enough. They really have to prepare for people coming in, not knowing any practical skills yet, and really have to train them up, hands-on guidance, sending them on trainings, having mentorship in place. But yes, you're right. There is also something funny when it comes to engineers. I mean, when I take another example from experience, at a
Mhm.
company I'm currently engaging with, we organize knowledge sessions every 4 weeks. And it's not the boring kind. We had somebody talk about cloud computing, of quantum computing.
That's
We
fun.
had somebody talk about AI. We had somebody
Wow.
talk about how to build a compiler yourself, like interesting, challenging topics. And we have an attendance of around 33%.
Hmm.
For some reason, engineers on the clock can go on and learn about interesting topics that they maybe not can apply tomorrow, but somewhere in the next few weeks or months in their job probably. And they
Hmm.
get the time from their employer and they don't shut up. Instead, they go hands down and continue just, implementing an update on the GTO on some kind of line of business application. I don't know what's
Right.
happening there.
No, and me neither. But I mean, a lot of companies can be, you know, say that they're supportive, but they have also very high pressure on people. They're mostly. It seems sometimes a lot of I've had, I've been consulting with a lot of companies and also have been employed previously in previous years in a previous lifetime before I went independent. That companies are more seem to be very, eager to have that high billable rate and whatever, and they're not super interested in the training stuff.
So yes, I mean there are companies that are saying like we really want you to learn and keep educating yourself, and here's a Pluralsight account and you should absolutely educate yourself, but also be billable 40 hours a week. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so
a
on
problem
your
that
own time, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I
Mm.
mean, there has to be some kind of trade-off, right? You cannot expect your employer to arrange everything for you, to give you all the time you need. You also need to do something yourself.
Mhm.
But going back to that pressure that you mentioned, sometimes I really wonder if that pressure is there like all the time or if it's just perceived pressure. I mean, if we look at our job, we are always working on a problem that we have not fixed yet. Because once
Yes.
we have fixed it, it's behind us. And for some reason, we forget to look back. So there is always something in front of us, always,
Mhm.
all the time. It's part of our job and how we work. For some, of we should learn to look at that in front of us and say, well, that's for tomorrow. And then do some learning. Take some time. It doesn't have to be the day. Just take 20 minutes and try something new. Look at, I don't know, Aspire is a new thing that's happening in the .NET world, right? You don't necessarily have to have a very concrete use case on how to apply that. But why don't you go into Visual Studio, File, New, Project,
Yeah,
Control
and
F,
try it out. Yeah,
Aspire, next, finish, and see what's happening.
that's right.
Make the time. It's never going to be falling into your lap.
So there is, of course, a really strong part in there for the employee to make the time and to actually do it. I've seen companies do like every other Friday or whatever it is that they have for, it'll be different in different companies, right? Where they
Mhm.
the company invests some time that could have been billable hours into actually, letting these consultants or their employees do some training and lab work and stuff together.
So I think companies do that to try and relieve that pressure, that's perceived pressure that engineers maybe even just apply onto
Mhm.
themselves.
Mm.
But and that's a great thing. But it also has a downside. If you say every last Friday of the month you can work on things that you find important or that you can need to learn or want to learn, it kind of also says, but the other time that's not for learning. All the remaining time, you have to be billable, you have to focus on
Mm.
organizational goals, and you cannot deviate
True.
from the hallowed path. I believe that learning and trying new things should interleave with your work all the time. Um,
Right,
when you're
right.
waiting for a build to complete, just 5 minutes. I mean, check a newsletter if there is something in there that you can use the next week. It should be part of who you are, how you work.
So I've seen a lot of scenario or a lot of persons, individual people, we can't mention anyone, right? But I've seen tech people who I perceive them as having stopped being that curious. They just do their job, kind of disillusioned, and then they go home, and they don't really care about that stuff anymore. It's a bit of a challenge.
Shame. Yes, so I am not necessarily advocating for everybody to work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
It's absolutely not, because I think using your brain requires you also to have time to recharge that brain.
Yeah.
And yes, it's not wrong to just have a job and quit, call it quits at 5 p.m. or 5:30.
Right.
But I do wish it upon everybody to find their job inspiring, challenging.
Yeah.
There is a reason we went into this, right?
Yeah, I hope we all liked it.
Did you go into IT just to get shitloads of money?
Well, that I like money.
Nothing wrong with that.
Fair,
but there was something else as well, right?
That I like it. That I think it's inspiring, and then I get to be curious, and I get to learn things, and I get to solve problems. Sherlock Holmes style, right?
Sometimes, I mean, when I look at myself, sometimes I'm busy all day working on plans, thinking about stuff, and then it's 3 p.m. and I'm like, screw this. I am just going to open Visual Studio and I'm going to code something. Because that's what drives me, building something, creating something. So I try to go back every day at least to why I got into this job, what I enjoyed. And I wish it upon everybody to find it. I mean, you cannot force it for people, but I'm really curious, why would people burn out? Is there curiosity? Is that beaten out of them because they went stray too often? Or there must be a reason people lose that curiosity, right?
I would think so. That there must be. This is a tough topic, because being constantly driving learning in like everything that we do also requires energy, of course, and there's only so much energy, I guess. So it needs to be included in a natural way into what we do, doesn't it?
Yes, but you say it takes energy. Yes, but on the other hand, I think there's a lot of research that shows when you have to do something, it takes energy, and when you want to do something, it gives energy. So, for example, I'm painting my house right now, and I do that sometimes before or after work, and I enjoy doing that. I'm building something, I'm creating something for my wife and for myself. But for somebody who is a professional painter, I think at 4:30 they're very happy that they can put the paint thingy, what do you call it in English, the brush away. And call it quits. Whereas at the end of the day, I'm very happy that I can pick up that brush. So I think it boils down to wanting to learn, enjoying that learning. New things, Magnus. New things. They're so magnificent.
That's true. New things. And I feel that same way, because, I mean, imagine if you have a company of people who see their work just as their job. They're uninspired. They just do whatever they're told to do, and so on, as compared to having a company full of people who are inspired and inspirational and curious and turned on. I would say that has a lot of value to any business, to have the latter rather than the former.
I think so, because I think every company will see that the output, which is a bit of a bad word, the output of everybody who is a knowledge worker closely correlates to how driven they are, how much they are enjoying their work, how much of their self they can put in their work. The best conversations at the place I'm currently working a lot of the time happen after 5 p.m. when most of the people are home and only us engineers are left in one corner of the office. And it's like, did you read this article last week? Or I have done this amazing thing with caching, let me show you. It's when we connect about the thing that drives us, the engineering, that really get us going. And if I go back to younger engineers, people that just joined the team, or how are we going to train them up? How are we going to teach them things that they didn't get in school?
Right.
That happens then as well. Hey, I saw you do this thing today and it works and wonderful, but hey, what if we together sit down for like 30 minutes and, refactor this a little bit to a strategy pattern? Or, hey, infrastructure as code, right? But I see you're still creating role assignments in Azure manually. Did you know you can also create those through infrastructure as code? Those small points of, 15, maybe 20 minutes where you
Yeah.
sit down with somebody in the team and give them a very practical thing that they can practice and then can apply the next day in their work. That happens, because we enjoy it.
Yeah, that's totally fair, and I think that now you're getting into the area of mentorship, of course, and that's really important too, to have that as a natural piece of that keeps. I try to mentor and help people. A lot of that has turned into actually being me helping them with presentations and presentation skills, because somebody else will say whether I'm good, but I do have experience in this field at least, right? So I've done it a lot, and I try to help. I don't know, younglings, but they're oftentimes younger than myself, right? and maybe haven't got the mileage in this space. I have it, and so I try to share in this as I can, as I may, right?
And I think that's really great that you do. And I just talked today to an engineer because I knew I was going to be here, right? And she told me that she had this when she started the job right out of school as well.
Yeah.
There was somebody in the team who was helping her, like on a not necessarily daily, but maybe even hourly basis at the start, nudging her in the right direction all the time. But when we talked about that more, we discovered that it was more or less by accident. The person was helpful and experienced, and they connected pretty easily. This was during COVID, so that was even harder remote, but it worked out in the end. But we concluded it was more or less by accident. It was not very deliberate after her hiring. And that's something that we try to do differently. When we hire somebody, we look at them and we make a program for the first week. So you have to meet this person. You have to meet this person. Hey, you have to read this document. Hey, do you know how this works? So you need to follow this training on Pluralsight about, Azure DevOps, because that's what we use. So we very deliberately plan their first month full of topics that we believe will, rocket them into working in our team.
Good.
And not a lot of, I think very large companies have this in place, but when you look at smaller or medium-sized companies, they don't. And I think a lot of companies can improve in this area. Very deliberately think about how can you get people, to get the best out of themselves, because you will benefit as a company, but the engineer will benefit as well. And if the engineer is benefiting in your organization, they're probably going to stay.
All right.
Right?
So we kind of. I mean, I think everybody who is listening on this episode now kind of feel recognition here that am I doing enough? Do I have energy, or do I prioritize correctly? How can I even learn in this? There's so much to learn. It's overwhelming. And also as an employer, how can I empower? How can I help? And get a sort of a natural order where people feel inspired or feel eager to learn. So what are your thoughts on this? How do you foster a good relationship, I guess, with learning, both from an employer and an employee standpoint?
I think it's one of the most difficult questions that we have in our field. It's the most rapidly changing field in the world, right? I don't have the answer. But I think if there is one thing that people should take away, it's be deliberate. So much of our life, and especially our working life, happens to us. But if you are a people manager, be very deliberate about the people in your team. How do I every single day inspire them to learn and manage new skills and improve and help others? Or if you are an employee, what did I learn today? What did I screw up? Where is the room for improvement? What did I learn that I can share with others? And if you are deliberate about this every day or maybe every week, I think you can make small steps, but a lot of steps every year. So that's my advice. Be deliberate.
Be deliberate and take small steps and try to include learning in every aspect of what you do.
Don't confine it to Fridays after 4.
Yeah. Well, I think that weirdly, but I think that sometimes skip over the review part of a pull request very much, right? We don't take the time to reflect on it and really sit down and discuss it. It's like a thing that it's just like, oh, we need to get this feature done and we need to send it out real quick. Whoop, off it goes. But you don't really reflect on what could I have done differently, or I think
Or the
that
other
that
way around,
goes
by the
too
way.
fast. Huh?
If you do pull requests, why don't you let your most junior engineer do pull request reviews? 9 out of 10 times, they will pick something up that they're like, oh wow, let me try this. Pull requests go two ways. It's not just about being reviewed; it's also about learning from the person you are reviewing.
Right.
Sorry, just one of my pet peeves.
No, it's a good pet peeve. I love it. No, it's I've seen that too much, that we skip the part of learning and we just move on to the next task and then the next task and then continues, and week and month and year of the next task, and we don't deliberately, baby steps, take time to learn.
Yes, I think it's one of the biggest flaws or risks in our field of work, this pile of problems that we still have to solve. And I think if we're really honest, in almost all companies and with almost all managers, if you finish something and then say, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on preparing for the next thing, or looking something up, or I'm figuring out how to approach this, nobody will object. So as an engineer, take those 30 minutes every now and then to approach your new problem, think about your new problem, or maybe just try something and don't know yet how you're going to use it, but learn.
That's a really good point. All right. Well, I really, really enjoy this topic, and I think you and I can, like, next time we have to sit down with a couple of glasses of some beverage and discuss this for a long, long time. Maybe just put a camera up and we'll talk. No, but really,
you can talk for hours. I know that.
It's a big topic. We can talk about this for hours, but unfortunately, this episode is running out of time. But, I guess the takeaway is stay curious and take baby steps and put learning into everything that you do, sort of, right? As much as you can. I want to thank you so much for being on the Cloud Show today. I think this is a worthy topic, a really good one to talk about. It's so important. Everybody wants to be happy in their work because we spend so much time there.
And I don't...
Lost you there a little bit, Henry. Oh, you're back? Yes. You're back?
Yes, I think my connection is breaking up, so this is great timing.
This is great timing,
Magnus.
Hey, thank you for being on the show. And audience, we'll see you guys next time on the Cloud Show.